Story 1. I can't believe it's been 5 years since we all learned what essential worker meant and then immediately forgot about them. Story 2. I view my fellow citizens quite differently now. When people began refusing to wear masks to protect others and rejected science and vaccinations, it opened my eyes to how uninformed a significant portion of the population is. I have lost a great deal of respect and trust for others. Story 3. I'm now wearing a mask when I am sick and in enclosed places such as the supermarket and doctor's office. Also, we get to keep the home office for now. Story 4. It has changed my life enormously. I lost my daughter, and after that, my wife and I could not stay in the house we raised her in, so we sold it. We now live full-time in a recreational vehicle. We work half of the year and travel the rest. We took part of our proceeds from the house sale and invested in a home in a completely different part of the country with our remaining child and his wife. That will be our eventual exit plan from the recreational vehicle life. The pandemic taught me a very valuable lesson. I spent much of my life trying to achieve ultimate stability. For the most part, I had achieved that. I owned a house in Southern California outright. I had 2 wonderful children who were doing well. I had a successful business that I had been running for 15 years. Then the pandemic hit. I was within days of losing my business. Luckily, a contract came through at the last minute that saved it. I did lose my daughter because of it. The secure little world that I thought I had control over was just a facade. In the span of 2 years, it was all gone. When that all happened, I thought, why am I trying to control something that I obviously have no control over? It was the pandemic that made me realize I needed to start living the life I wanted to live. Luckily, my wife felt the same way, and so here we are now. We've seen 46 of the 50 states and will continue to travel for as long as we can. Yes, a certain amount of stability is required, but don't let that one thing become all-consuming. It can be taken away in the blink of an eye and is completely out of your control. Go live life. Story 5. I feel disappointed by how few people I see when I go to places like downtowns or malls. It never returned to the level it used to be. Story 6. The pandemic provided a convenient opportunity for me to leave my restaurant job. It had become extremely stagnant, but I was too hesitant to make a change on my own. The pandemic compelled me to take that step, and now I am earning a 6-figure salary working Monday through Friday. I will never work nights, weekends, or holidays again. Story 7. I don't get out as much as I used to. I actually love to go out, but my personal life changed drastically in 2020 when I almost became paralyzed. As a result, I order from food delivery services now instead of going out, perhaps a little too much. I somewhat miss the quietness of 2020. One thing is for certain. Some people I was friends with before aren't friends with me or my current group anymore. I think it's a combination of the fear from the pandemic and getting sick, along with major political differences. While I'm not particularly political and consider myself moderate, some individuals just can't interact normally with each other since 2020. Story 8. I am doing well. I reduced my expenses, grew closer to my family, purchased 2 houses, increased my retirement savings, and enjoyed the past few years. However, my financial success is now dissipating rapidly. I view people differently now. I was led to believe we were a community that could be relied upon to do the right thing in a crisis. Then I observed adults react with extreme frustration when asked to wear masks and refrain from dining out for a couple of weeks. They dismissed science during a national health emergency, which significantly changed my perception of my neighbors. Ironically, I feel more confident now because the ignorance and malice of many people have been exposed, and I can confidently say I am a better person than they are. Story 9. COVID forced me to lose my job and move back to my home country. Then I met a wonderful man at my new job, got married, and now I'm resting next to our baby. My life changed quite drastically. Story 10. Aside from paying twice as much for everything and witnessing the country panic for a couple of years, my life has remained completely unaffected. Story 11. The pandemic disrupted many aspects of life and led to an increase in corporate greed and dissatisfaction with the government. Story 12. It is incredible to consider how much has changed in just 5 years. In some ways, the COVID-19 pandemic was a wake-up call for me. I used to focus solely on my career, but during the lockdowns, I had a lot of time to reflect. I realized that my mental health and relationships needed more attention than I was giving them. Story 13. Good. I met someone, got married, had a child this year, and moved to a higher-paying job. Bad, my mother passed away. Story 14. I had a friend who came down with long COVID and chronic fatigue. They no longer have the energy for social activities, work, go home, crash, and repeat. My ex cheated during the pandemic. Cheating is bad enough, but during a pandemic? It's appalling. To make matters worse, she had herpes. And to top it off, her 80-year-old father was living with us, putting him at risk because of her reckless behavior. I am also glad that in the place I live, British Columbia, Canada, the government funded a limited number of sick days for everyone. It isn't much, but for those who never had any, it helps. Story 15. More disposable income, less happiness. Also, have I become more socially awkward? I have no idea how it happened, considering I'm in my 30s. It's not like I was in high school or college during the pandemic. Perhaps it's just social anxiety that developed. I used to be relaxed, but now I'm just anxious all the time. Story 16. I have been working from home for 4.5 years now. It has really helped me a lot. Not having to maintain a car and pay for fuel costs is like having years' worth of raises. The extra hours in the day that are not spent commuting have definitely improved my mental health. Not having to eat out and being able to cook at home has helped me save money. I already knew how to cook. I just got to do it more. There is no office politics either. I genuinely do not miss the office. Story 17. In 2020, my son was born, and we bought our own home. In 2022, my daughter was born 2 months early. In 2023, my wife passed away. I feel like my life has proceeded inversely since the COVID pandemic. Life is certainly unpredictable. Story 18. My life was perfect in 2020, but then I lost everything. As it appears in the current environment, it will only get worse until I no longer want to live. Story 19. I dislike everyone more. I realize friends can be family more than actual family. I question why people wear masks outside and ask those who still wear masks what they will do when the next pandemic occurs. I have learned to question everything and understand that politicians are not medical professionals and have no business speaking on medical matters. I wish the media focused more on the vaccine being a protection against the severity of the virus rather than treating it as a magical shield that some people continue to believe it is. Story 20. Still working from home, which has its advantages and disadvantages. Post-COVID inflation, an inevitable consequence of increased money supply, has been a significant challenge. Story 21. I was in high school when the shutdowns occurred, and now I am a year into a Doctor of Philosophy program. A big change was coming for me anyway. I might have played sports in college if I had my senior season in high school. However, that might not have happened. Who really knows? My childhood best friend's mother passed away, which was difficult for me. Story 22. Now, after the worst, not much has changed. I wear masks when I feel even a slight flu coming on. It was different at the height of the pandemic. Story 23. Getting sick is more common and much more severe. I'm not sure if it's because of age, but before COVID, I rarely got sick. Perhaps once every 2 years. Now, every 3 to 6 months I get sick, and it becomes a week-long ordeal. Either COVID has compromised my immune system or diseases have become deadlier. I also see the return to the office coming back in full force. Businesses and governments claiming their support for sustainability is insincere. The world operated fine during COVID with remote work, and now all of a sudden, we have to be back in the office, stuck in hour-long commutes because of culture and better working harmony. Story 24. Instead of being able to live on my own and experience the progression through life that I was taught as a child, I am now burdened by my parents' mortgage and can only afford to go to work. I no longer engage in activities I once enjoyed. I feel like an old hermit in my 30s. I earn more money than I ever have, yet I can afford less than before. I haven't taken a legitimate vacation since 2019. My life has become a routine of going to work and paying bills. Story 25. My resting heart rate increased by approximately 20 points in 1 week. I was mildly ill and did not think much of it. I have only managed to reduce it by about 5 points in the past few years. Story 26. I needed COVID to wake up from my fast life. I'm in such a better position. No more fake friends, I quit addictions, I moved to the countryside, and I found new love. It's a lot, but I love my life so much right now. Story 27. My great-grandmother died at the very start of the pandemic. I was able to travel to her wake and funeral right before some forms of virus control were implemented. I entered the workforce, and my grandfather died a couple of months later. I regret not having spoken to him on the phone more often. He actually visited us a few weeks before I started my first job. I almost died in a car crash. A couple of years ago, I started working in the aviation industry. My grandfather and I were both big aviation enthusiasts. I bought my first car in my name with my insurance, as opposed to driving cars registered under my mother's name. Recently, I was betrayed at that job. I'm still upset about it, but hopefully, I will secure a similar position at another company. I would love to give those who betrayed me the middle finger as I pass them on the apron in a different uniform. I'm young but already feel tired. I am a bit wiser, so I know better which battles to face, but I still feel fatigued. Overall, life is good. Story 28. For a long time after Omicron, I was worried about a potential Pi variant, but now I realize that such a fear is irrational. Story 29. Well, it turned a lot of people I know into conspiracy theory enthusiasts that I won't socialize with anymore. Story 30. The Trump disease is still present, subjecting us to another round of tariffs. Life has become significantly worse. Story 31. Well, it helped me realize my preferred lifestyle is being in quarantine, with everyone leaving me alone and in peace. Story 32. Many extracurricular activities and clubs were canceled to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Not all of them returned, and many students who would have participated missed out on valuable experiences. I lost many social opportunities in high school due to this, and the few clubs I am part of in college that survived the pandemic are gradually losing members. My college's Humans vs. Zombies chapter had nearly 200 members during my first game, and this semester we were fortunate to have over 60. Story 33. I work remotely now because of it. I was in a serious car crash in late 2020, and I believe the circumstances leading to the crash and the delayed recovery would not have occurred if COVID-19 hadn't happened. Before the crash, I was living a good life and enjoyed the lockdown. I spent 2 years in medical limbo and depression before finally receiving effective treatment. I am doing well now, especially because of remote work. My weight fluctuates a bit more than I would like, but it is what it is, and it's still mostly within a healthy range. Story 34. I earn more money than I ever have, but everything is also much more expensive. Therefore, not much has changed. Story 35. My mother passed away. I resigned from my job after 16 years due to a difficult work environment. My boyfriend moved in, then became my fiancé, and we got married in October of last year. I gained 20 pounds, grew my hair out, and underwent $10,000 worth of dental work. It has been quite overwhelming. Story 36. I am far more functional and less depressed now. However, I am quite disturbed by the increasing disrespect for fields like science and medicine and the dismissive attitude toward the effects of lockdowns, especially on mental health and young individuals. Story 37. I have been ill for 3 years with long COVID. It has damaged my mitochondria, leading to daily headaches, fevers, and very limited energy. I was super active and fit with no underlying conditions. Now, it is a slow crawl back to recovery. Story 38. COVID came at a time when I was finally starting to feel hopeful about my future. My mental health was improving and was the best it had been for a while. I have never been able to recover since then. Story 39. The initial COVID lockdown was hard. My grandmother passed away, and only 7 people could attend her funeral. The second lockdown was manageable and helped me meet someone I considered a soulmate. We spent 4 years together, graduated, but my boyfriend became an alcoholic. I broke up with him 3 months ago, and a week later, he died while drinking and speeding on his motorcycle. Life comes at you quickly. I hope I can make things better again. Story 40. I learned how to code and hack, which definitely helped me a lot in my life. I started freelancing and made some money. It was probably the best year of my life. Story 41. My fiance's grandmother isn't here. I'm not saying she would be if she hadn't passed away from COVID-19 because she was getting older, but it robbed her of some amount of time and, in turn, robbed the family of time with her. I work a few days from home still. Though we've gone back to the office 3 days a week, I still get Mondays and Fridays, or as I call them, pajama days. I don't go to concerts much anymore. I went to many and have attended hundreds. It's not that I stopped enjoying them or don't want to be around people. I just kind of got out of it and haven't gotten back in. I don't even know why. My internal alarm goes off when I hear certain phrases now. No one wants to work annoys me. Hundreds of thousands of workers are gone, and everything's more expensive. Maybe that's why you can't fill your $8 an hour position. Someone on a disc golf video recently used the term free people, and I instantly turned it off. Other than that, things have settled into a new normal. I still have a box of masks in my closet, and I'll wear them whenever the people much smarter than I tell me to. Story 42. Everyone who took the vaccine is now dead. My life has changed because it made us aware of who our foolish friends were, and it provided a good reason to distance ourselves from them. Story 43. I am a chef and was laid off for the first time. I decided to attend culinary school while I was not employed. I graduated with a 4.0 grade point average. Now, I work at the college, earning better wages with actual benefits and a pension. My life improved significantly due to the pandemic, mainly because I had a break from work. Story 44. I am back to waking up completely embarrassed to be from the United States. Even the basic question of what late-night, nonsensical social media post the elected president made last night bothers me. At 38, this is the first time I have felt entirely ashamed of this country. It was bad before, but I never would have imagined that we would be back here 4 years later, willingly. I have realized that some conservatives are universally frustrating and need to focus on more important matters instead of worrying about social issues. It seems like the negative aspects of the United States are influencing the rest of the world. Story 45. Honestly, very little has changed. I was working for years before the pandemic, and that remains the same. The only difference is that I now have a degree, and my job is full-time instead of freelance. Story 46. With work, it's actually for the better. We have the option of a remote workplace, which was introduced during the COVID pandemic and has continued. I'm more flexible now, which is great when you have small kids. Otherwise, there is nothing else. Story 47. Coincidentally, the day I received my second dose of the Pfizer vaccine, I met an amazing woman online. At the time, I was living alone in an apartment, and we were in separate states. Now we live together in a beautiful house, and life is better than it has ever been. My vaccine card is still on our fridge, with the date we met written on it. Story 48. I was a certified nursing assistant at a level 1 trauma center and pregnant with my second child when COVID-19 hit. It was not easy. I had always wanted to attend nursing school and greatly regretted not doing it because I was missing out on significant income. 5 years later, I have 3 children that I can actually afford, the youngest being 9 months old. I graduated from nursing school, bought a house, and got married. Story 49. Made me realize my former employer was truly terrible, and I found employment elsewhere, doubling my overall pay. Story 50. My shoulder hurts all the time now. I perform a lot of repetitive motions with it at work, and the early lockdown increased the amount of work we had to do significantly due to the surge in veterinary testing as many people suddenly adopted new pets. I haven't had enough of a break since for the pain to subside. Story 51. Instead of working from home 2 days a week, I now do it 4 days a week, although it was 5 days for a while. I still wear a mask on the train on the one day I go into the office. My wife and I have always preferred to avoid crowds, and the COVID pandemic reinforced that. So we moved to a small town about an hour from the city. This change allowed us to afford a better house and more land. Story 52. I miss COVID. Honestly, those were good times being able to stay home and not having to go outside. It would be nice working from home, hanging out with my girlfriend all day, and not having to go into any job. I miss it, and I miss online university too. Story 53. I cannot stand going into the office 5 days a week. I work in technology, but I am starting to get used to going back to the office 2 to 3 days and slowly working towards 4 days in the office. My company only requires 2 days. I have reached new highs in my weight. Prior to COVID-19, I usually hovered between 175 and 185 pounds. After COVID-19, it increased to 195 to 197 pounds. I decided to remove my gallbladder and ballooned up to 197 pounds. I am back down to 180 pounds. I hope to drop back to 147 pounds. My lowest weight as an adult was between 155 and 157 pounds whenever I am on a health kick. I am hoping that by August I will be back in the 150s. I hope that by the end of the year, my body fat percentage will decrease to 19%. The last time I checked, it was 33% a month ago. Story 54. COVID did not enter the room where I am, except for the cash bounties. Our lives never changed from day to day. Story 55. I lost a woman I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. I also lost my father and the best job I ever had, all because of COVID-19. Story 56. For the worse all around. Things are not the same and never will be. Life has a different feel, and it's amazing how people were so easily manipulated and hurted by the abuse of power from our governments. I still see people driving alone in their cars while wearing masks. Once the next pandemic hits, I plan to live in the bush until the end of my life. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.